All right, I think we're live. Hello, guys. How are you doing? How are our guest? Is our guest Baumi?
Like, I mean, this has been a pretty good day yesterday, so let's be honest. Like, it's just so, um, we got ourselves our Kickstarter hitting our goal, so that's been a huge relief. But yeah, other than that, been pretty normal, pretty good game, good day. I can't talk. I'm really sorry. I'm trying. It's been long. It's been a long month, and I've been this little like stress ball, and yesterday it just finally released, and ever since then I've just like turned into a puddle, and my brain doesn't work anymore. So apologies if I don't get everything exactly right the first time. I'm
No
trying.
problem. Thanks so much for joining us, Baumi. And just to clarify, you're a puddle because your Kickstarter is all paid off, right? You reached your
Yeah,
goal. That's amazing
yeah.
news.
We had our Kickstarter running for Chroma since it's just about a month. Like honestly, it's been like just about four weeks at this stage. We are only 3 days, free like 4-ish days remaining, and yesterday we hit our goal of 100,000, which is a lot of money. So
Yeah, that is a lot of money.
that is a lot of money. But
Yes.
frankly
Yeah.
speaking, like I could have put the goal lower, and then I probably wouldn't have been as stressed because we would have hit it faster. But if I
Mm.
put the goal lower, it's just not enough money to make the game, and then that feels dishonest, right? And I don't want to do that.
That makes sense. If your stretch goals are actually required to make the game, they're not really stretch goals, are they?
Yeah.
So no, and it's definitely the right way to go about it. I mean, I invested in the Kickstarter a while ago. A member of our chat actually mentioned the game to
Yeah.
me a little while ago, but the speed that it went from 80% to 100%, it goes, hang on, I got like 2 messages within the space of a few hours. I was like,
I, I mean,
wow.
we didn't expect it at all. Like, we like to meme a little bit. So this week, I think was it on Tuesday or Wednesday, we did our 69 420 stream. I think that was on Tuesday, but we tried to hit the 69 420, and we were really excited that we got it. And then all of a sudden on Friday, that's it. It's full. We made it. And the crazy part is, the last few days of Kickstarter, they're still going. There's still a little bit of time
Yeah.
remaining. So
That's insane. That's really insane. Well, none of us have experience with creating a Kickstarter or a game. So, yeah, you'd have to tell us all about that. But it's not your first one either, is it?
no, we've done a Kickstarter for a game before. It was not a card game, but that one was physical. Wait, I have copies
Awesome.
all over the place.
The-
I have
the
copies
game's
all over.
Disasters.
This is disasters. Yeah, the name could maybe have been chosen a bit better. I'll be honest. But it
No,
was
I
like
love it. I love it. Fun
it
in
was
6 hours too.
yeah. That
Wow.
one was meant to be a much smaller thing, right? Like that one we had asked for what 7,000, and the goal there was just to print 1,000 copies of it,
Yeah.
and then just kind of have that, and then that blew up, and that game became a little bit bigger. But yeah, like it's just our little game here, which ended up turning out pretty well. Like we almost sold out at this stage of this thing.
That's insane. That's really insane.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's really
What made
cool.
you decide to go down that route? Why did you decide to make Disastals?
Okay, well, I mean, I had been working as like a game designer for a little while now, and I'll be completely honest. I was working on a video game, but I was working as an outsource, and then they ran into money issues, and you know who
Ah,
goes first when they run
No,
into money
oh
issues?
no, that's a shame.
Yeah.
that's bad.
So they were nice about it. They said we'll put it on hold, like if everything. But at that point, I was just kind of like, okay, well, I got a little bit of extra time on my hands now, right? And I don't really know what to do. And then a friend of mine contacted me and was like, hey, do you want to make a board game with me? And I'm like, yes.
Yes, I do. There's no other answer
Yes,
to
I
that.
do.
Yes, where do I sign?
So, so we came up with this little thing. I mean, really, like, it was mostly like we had one kind of like session where me and him sat down and threw a bunch of ideas back and forth, and then afterwards, like, I handled pretty much all of the design and he handled all of the art. But it was, yeah, it was it was a pretty spontaneous thing, but it was kind of like in that moment where I just kind of ran out of stuff to do, so let's find something new to do. And so we made our little game here. This one is more of a party game, though. It's like for 5 players. I like it the most when you played with 4 players. Then it's the most fun, in my opinion. But
Disasters. I'll have to check that out, actually. I love party games.
Definitely. Yeah, I've got a pile of like physical card games and board games right next to me, so I may have to give that one a try.
I agree.
yeah, I can send you guys. Like, again, we have a few copies remaining here. Like, so in total, we ended up printing 5,500 and like a few extra.
Nice.
Just a few extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the few extra was basically I ordered 5,500 and then they delivered 5,500, I think like 78 or something. I'm like, why is there 78 extra? And
I
they're
suppose
like,
they're not going to keep the extras.
yeah, right. Like, but turns out the reason why they print extras because like in the manufacturing, some kind of get broken. Like it happens, right?
Ah, okay.
And then they have some extra, and I mean they're not gonna keep them, so they just
Yeah. I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah.
so
That makes sense. So you picked Disasters. It was a card game, and it was quite a spontaneous thing. Does Chroma build on it in any way, or was it just that you?
no.
No.
No, they're very
That's
different
interesting.
games. So this game is, it's a little bit difficult to describe initially. It's kind of a deck builder, but instead of building a deck, you kind of imagine it's a deck builder, but your deck is laid out in front of you, and as you add that's why it's called Disasters. Like the castle part of it is you build a castle, right? And then there's disasters that happen. That's the disasters.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Again, I apologize for the name. But but this game is very different. Again, like it's really meant to be kind of like a little party game. Nothing. I like card games, so like most people know me for Dota, and that's what I've been doing for a long time. But I honestly, card games have actually been a bigger part than Dota in my life, which is a little bit odd considering I've been playing Dota since
I think that surprised a few people.
Yeah.
But when I was like, I remember when I was like 6 years old, I regularly went to like Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments and shit. And
Yu-Gi-Oh.
My man.
That honestly, like, Yu-Gi-Oh was a really big part of me growing up. And as I like grew older, like other card games came in. Played some Pokemon, played some Naruto card game.
Oh wow.
That was
the
a
less
thing.
said about that. Was it actually good?
I remember like that I liked it at the time. I don't know if I would.
That is a very diplomatic answer, sir.
Yeah. I don't really know how it worked, but I know that I played it at the time. And well, I had friends that played Magic. I never really like owned Magic cards myself, but they had a bunch, so I would always go over and like play with their decks and that kind of thing. That's like oh sorry.
Oh no, please continue.
Like I don't know, like card games have always been like a really big part of my life, and like I eventually started working as like a game designer because like I did YouTube full time for a while, and it just wasn't really that fulfilling. It was fun, but it wasn't fulfilling for me. Like it felt like I was getting stupid. Because
I understand.
Like I was what I was doing is I was grinding. Right, I was grinding videos and I was grinding content.
Must make content.
Yeah.
Must make content.
And while that's fun and kind of fulfilling in its own way, because it's always like chasing that number and chasing that high of getting like a good view count. After a little while, you do that. Like, okay, I started my YouTube channel in 2008. Wow. So by the time like I was able to do it full time, I had already been doing it for like 8 years, 10 years. And at that point, it was like, okay, this is fun, and I'll keep doing it, but it's not challenging me, like not in a way that I felt like I was doing something that required me to think or be creative or just kind of like get something out of it more than just producing content all the time. And so I started working in kind of like game design. And like the first thing I did was just making custom games for Dota. Eventually, I got hired to actually work for a proper company, and then that eventually didn't work out anymore, and then I like made a little card game, and like it ended up being a card game, like a physical game like this, because it's really like most possible if you're just two people.
That makes sense. It's a lot easier to produce, right?
Yeah.
But
And then
you worked for Dota? That's interesting.
No, I didn't work for Dota. No.
What did you do with Dota? What was that?
Well, custom games. I made custom games. So like
Okay.
like Dota 2 Arcade, you can make like mods for the game.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And we made like a bunch of different mods, like quite a few that I really liked and was quite proud of, you know. But in the end, one of the things that's really frustrating about working in Dota as a custom game engine, right? If I make a custom game in Warcraft 3 or I make a custom game in StarCraft 2, I can make it, be done with it, and then it exists. That's not true for Dota. In Dota, whenever a new patch is released, they break. So you need to go and maintain them. You can't just have a game and then keep it and then be done with it. You need to constantly maintain them. And that's why eventually I was like, why am I bothering with this? Like, let's just make actual games, you know, like, because those will not constantly break.
That's true. That's a lot of extra work, actually. I suppose people don't realize the extra effort that goes in. You just assume that future patches will just support content, but a lot of the time they just don't, do they?
Yeah, it is true for other games. Like, so Blizzard does a really good job at that. Like, if I go into Warcraft 3 right now, I can play custom games from 2005. Like, that's fine.
Wow.
I mean, you can literally go down on, like, download old maps of Dota if you want to. That works. But Dota 2 just doesn't care. They do not care at all. Like, they will just remove elements of the API that certain games were calling and just completely disregard it. They will not even give you a patch note for it. They'll just be like, oh, there's a new patch. And you realize everything is broken.
Find out.
That's dreadful.
And then you need to figure out what broke it.
Oh, the frustration.
That sounds horrible.
Wow.
At least
your career path makes sense. I understand the transition.
Yeah,
It's all coming into focus.
So that was kind of that. Like, it's well, again, like, I really like Dota. I mean, I still stream Dota. It's just finished the Dota stream, right? And I like custom games. I don't like making them anymore because they just look awesome. And I also don't really encourage people to like make those big custom games these days. What I encourage people to do is kind of make throwaway games. Or it's like, go make a custom game, but expect it to only be playable for like a week or two. And then be fine with it breaking. Like, otherwise that you'll have to keep maintaining it. Anyway, sorry, like, I feel like we're going on.
No, that's okay. It's interesting to hear. It's nice to hear the background.
Yeah.
It really is.
You're actually covering a lot of our questions, so that's more than fine.
Right.
Works nicely. But obviously Chroma is the main reason we're here, and that's the one we're excited to talk about. We've got, as I mentioned, someone in in the community that we've got came to me and said, have you heard of this game? Go and check it out. It's actually in chat now. And I hadn't heard about it, thought I'd go and check. Another guy who works in sort of game advertising came and said, have a look at this as well.
It's Lewis, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Lewis,
yeah, it's Lewis. Yeah,
he got in touch.
Talking to him.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Yeah, you see, you know Woody, great guy. Got a lot of time for Woody, and he said, "Oh, go and check this out." And again, Manish in chat said, "Hey, I watched this guy. You should really check this out. You guys like card games?" I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a go." I'm quite picky with card games. I've played most of them, and that's abroad, but the ones that are there at the moment, I was like, "Okay, let's give this a go." And I really enjoyed starting playing the demo. Looked through, played the demo initially. I changed some of the questions that we sent because you went and hit the Kickstarter target too quickly. So I was going to ask you about, so when do you see the Kickstarter getting funded? And then you went and smashed it. So I was like, okay.
That was a big surprise for us as well, but a very happy surprise.
I can imagine.
Was a huge relief. I mean, like, I'll be honest, like, this past month has just been a freaking nightmare because in my head, it was like, well, this didn't work out, Even though, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like I am intellectually aware of the fact that we are on schedule and we can do it. But emotionally, my head is telling me, nope, it's dead. Forget about it. And that was not fun.
That doesn't sound fun. So protecting yourself of, okay, this is completely on track. And yet, what if it goes wrong? How am I going to deal with this? It kept pacing through the Kickstarter really nicely, though. It was consistent until the very end, where it just went absolutely nuts. It felt like it gained more traction. A lot of Kickstarters I've seen do so well to start with and then fall away.
Yeah,
exactly. They do the opposite, and you also went almost exponential there in the end.
So it's actually pretty normal for Kickstarters to kind of like have a curve that starts out really high and then flattens. And then
Yeah.
if the Kickstarter is like, like kind of reaches a certain minimum, then what they tend to do, they tend to like spike at the end again.
Interesting.
So the last like 3-4 days tend to be the biggest, which is why it was actually really surprising to have our big spike happen on the fifth day. Like fifth day before the end is very unusual. Like there's stuff like, for example, people on Kickstarter can favorite a game or like I don't know, like kind of like highlight a project, save a project. I don't know what the exact terminology is.
Okay.
And if they do, they will get notified as the Kickstarter enters the last 2 days. And a lot of people tend to like just do their purchases based on that. That's actually pretty common. Like Kickstarter expects like a conversion rate of about 20%, and 20% conversion rate in anything is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's huge.
So yeah, so that's like another big thing. Like that's honestly, we haven't even reached that point yet. So I'm pretty excited, looking forward to that. But yeah, so honestly, like the curve in Kickstarters tend to be like kind of like spiky at the start and kind of flattens out in the middle and then really spiky at the end. Because who is excited to put money into a Kickstarter that's 15 days through its lifetime?
Yeah,
That makes
that's
sense.
not. It's not an exciting moment. You want to be at the start or at the end.
Yeah, you want to contribute, you want to see the numbers grow. We were actually wondering, now that the Kickstarter is totally funded, what exactly is that money going into? Because we had a lot of fun playing the Chroma game you've put out so far, and I don't know if you can see on screen, but some of the cards that still need designing.
This is my favorite thing ever. This is my. Please tell me these are
We
staying
love
in.
this so much.
So that art you just put on the screen is dev art that my wife made.
Oh, it's adorable.
Yeah. So we are going to keep it in as like you can get it, but it's not going to be the standard, right? Like, but yeah, that's one of the big things. We need to finish up all of the artwork. Well, the money is going to be used pretty much entirely for development. So like so far, the game has been run pretty much mostly like I am the biggest investor in the game myself, which makes it like extra scary. Like we don't really have like a publisher or a big investor or anything like that. Well, we have like a few private investors, but even there, it's not like somebody came in and dropped like $100,000. That just didn't happen. So far, I personally have spent like 80,000 euros or something to try and make this happen. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But we need to finish up the artwork, and then honestly, there's a lot of development to do with a game. My experience with game design has been that you get the best results kind of at their own time. Like I always talk about, as a designer, you need to learn more about your game. Because I personally think that I know probably about 15 to 20% about Chroma, of like compared to what I could know about it. I don't know that much about it yet. I need to learn more about it. I need to spend more time with it. But it's not something you can force. Like I feel like those design hours, you can't sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna do 40 hours of design this week and then I'll know everything. It doesn't work that way. Like you need those 40 hours, but you need them stretched out over 40 days. And so that's kind of like one of the big things. So like I have some really cool, like we've got a bunch of changes planned. I would be happy to like talk about if you want to.
Oh, please. Please do.
Yeah, we're more than happy to go through some of those. That's really exciting.
Like there's like, so one of the things that with the game right now, like what I'm really happy with the game is stuff like deck building, and I like kind of how it feels as like I don't know. I like how the core concept feels, but I think the core concept could be made more unique. And the game itself is lacking a little bit of identity, and it's lacking a little bit of like focus. And I want to try and change it to have more identity. And so that's like a big element that I want to try and introduce. And again, like I would like to kind of like talk through that a little bit. I have some things that I can. Well,
we can definitely do that.
But yeah, so like. Sorry.
Do you want to start? Do you want to show that? We'll get there if you want to show it, or are you just talking about the concept for now? Because you're welcome to screen share if you want to show.
Well, I feel like I haven't really answered your question yet.
No, please.
We will definitely get to that section. We can
Yeah.
definitely get to that
Yeah,
section.
we'll get to that later. I want to
Awesome.
like first.
Okay.
So,
Because yeah, well, so what is the money actually going to be used for? It's going to be used for like actually just purely development of the game. So like even though I spend a lot of money in myself, like I'm not going to keep any of it. In fact, the current contracts I have with my investors, they explicitly forbid me from making like from paying myself
Profits.
money or anything like that.
Oh dear. That's
Um,
interesting.
Well, what's important to me is the game. That's what I care most about, more about than anything else. And money is something that will hopefully happen and needs to happen, but it's not why. It's not the reason.
yeah, the project itself has got to be the reason, right?
Yeah.
The creative joy of making it and seeing it grow.
So the money we are getting on Kickstarter right now is all going straight into the project. Like, of course, there's some, like if you check on the page, you see there's like a little bit of Kickstarter fees, and then we need to send out a shit ton of merchandise that we now sold people. Which I personally am really excited for to get my Bebo Sip mug. But the rest of the money just goes straight into the development. That's the only thing, and that's the only thing we're going to be spending it on. Well, I guess unless you count like a reveal trailer as a separate thing. Not really release trailer as a separate thing. But we need another trailer. But like other than that, it's going to be all
It's
just
all
straight
part of
into
the game, though, right? It's all part of the whole package of how the game's
Yeah,
going to
like-
grow and the advertising's, that little excitement. I love the original trailer, by the way. The artwork is really enjoyable.
Yeah, I was really happy with how that turned out. So like, but that was a big project getting that trailer out. I wanted to have something impressive for the Kickstarter. Gotta be completely honest, the release trailer will probably be a little less impressive, like because that one,
Yeah.
that 1 minute of animation cost me about 22,000 euros.
Wow.
So that's why it looks good.
It does.
We'll be
Although I
showing
suppose you have
it
to look
too.
at it,
Don't
we will
worry.
be showing it
We'll
shortly.
pay it, we'll forget. Don't worry.
Look at it. It's a good investment because that 22,000 investment has now encouraged people to invest 100,000. So if anything, it's printing free money.
That was the idea, hopefully that, and then all of the other stuff. Of course, it's really difficult to know how much of an impact having that animation had. But I just view it as like the totality of the thing, the whole thing. It clearly was part of it. It clearly helped.
Yes.
How much it helped doesn't really matter. The point was we got where we needed to be. And then also it's just something we'll be able to use in the future, like from kind of like a purely investment point of view. It's something that will be repeatedly usable.
That makes sense. I'll be honest, from a sort of an investing point of view, when I invested in the Kickstarter, the first thing I went to was, trailer. And the quality of it gives you real confidence in, wow, okay, actually this looks really good. And there's some gameplay in there, there's the animation itself, and it felt, honestly, it felt really good. And it was a reason that I was, you know what, I'm interested in this, let's give this a go.
Yeah,
So
that was the
it
idea.
was worth it.
Although, you want a quick secret? We spent 2 months on the 1 minute long animation at the beginning, and we spent 4 days on the 1 minute gameplay thing at the end. There's probably going to be a remastered version of that trailer eventually, where we spend more time on that little end bit.
More back end.
Yeah, more back end, but we just didn't have any time. There just wasn't enough time to finish it. Or to spend more time on it, I guess. I mean, it is finished. It could be better. Let's just put
Version
it
2 coming soon.
There's probably going to be a remastered version of that eventually.
Honestly, it looks great. I know exactly how you feel about creating your own thing and doubting it, but it's really good. There's no reason to... I think that the last part took just as long as the first part, honestly. So, yeah, no need for an upgrade, but always feel free to make another, if anything. And you were saying about the individuality of the game, its uniqueness. We were wondering, we saw very elements of different competitive card games within Chroma, like, let's say, Magic and the mana system. We were wondering, for interest's sake, where you got the inspiration for all of those different elements. What made you put them together in one game called Chroma?
So, No, a lot of my moments like that come mostly from frustration with other games.
Ah.
It's
Empathy starting to warm.
yeah, it's like I played one too many games of Magic Arena where I didn't draw lands. And Hearthstone just kind of got boring,
True.
and there's no good digital Pokemon client, which is still one of the best, actual card games. I freaking love Pokemon.
Yeah, big fan, not gonna lie.
The Pokemon trading card game is actually sick. But yeah, like I don't know, inspiration is something I find a little bit difficult to describe, because with me a lot of this stuff, the way like a core idea. So the game was basically formed like this. I had an idea that slowly built in my head, and then eventually one evening it just kind of snapped into place. I'm like, oh, I figured out a way to do a multicolored system that doesn't require lands. And then I basically went and I just grabbed Hearthstone.
How do I make this fun?
I was just like, all right, let me take Hearthstone, cool, and then let me take my new system, boom, cool, and then let's tabletop sim this for 6 months, and then it just kind of like happened from there, kind of like development. And honestly, like I think I made some mistakes there. So like, I don't know, this sounds bad. Like I'm not sure. I'm just gonna okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put a disclaimer before everything I'm about to say here. I really like the basic ideas and the core principles behind Chroma. One of the mistakes I think I made is that I leaned too much into Hearthstone. That's probably because I've played a lot of Hearthstone, and I should have paid a little bit more attention to not leaning so much into that, because it resulted in something that I personally found very frustrating, with people looking at the game and saying, oh, this is just a Hearthstone clone.
Oh.
Which ended up being a huge frustration for me, because I don't think that's true, but I see where they're coming from. I can see where, if you aren't too educated and you haven't tried the game, and the only card game you're familiar with is Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Then
you can see there are a lot of other things within the game. You can see that it uses, and if you play the game, let's say we've played through a little and toyed around with it to have a bit of a play. You can see there's a lot more in there, and you can see that there's you can see the core of it. You look at it and go, you could see why people would say it, but if they play it, it really doesn't feel the same. In fact, it feels very different when you're playing it. The mechanics, well, they actually exist. There's like a level of complexity to. You could lose a game of Chroma in the deck builder, is the way I'll put it.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is a good thing. I like that. I like the potential variety, the uniqueness that it could bring, and that it looks at things from different sort of games and different eras of sort of card games almost, and goes, okay, that worked. But imagine if it did this with this with this.
Yeah.
You can see the the idea there.
So that was kind of like one of the big things that I did, like I took a lot of elements that I liked, and I just kind of like stuck them together, and then
if it's not broken, don't try to fix it.
It felt pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but what that created, and this is where I think the game is right now, is it created a really solid base for something that is lacking identity. And now I want to try and find that identity for it. And I have some cool ideas for it that I'm really excited about. But in the end, that's kind of like how that development process went. And I maybe should have like seen that a little bit sooner, that people would like be pulling those strong comparisons. And maybe it's honestly not that big of a deal, because like maybe it's just something that's like, it irks me. It annoys me. I don't like it. I don't like when people see a thing and then just compare it to another similar thing immediately.
Very frustrating.
Because I feel like that just discredits both works.
They can't be identical, otherwise one wouldn't exist, right? Because you know.
And I just don't like that. One of the big things. Sorry, this is kind of like one of the big things that really irked me about the Hearthstone comparisons, that something I saw a lot is, oh, it's just another Hearthstone clone, and I'm just like, how many Hearthstone clones are there?
When you said it the first time, I thought, how many are there? Because I
How
can't
many are there?
Am I missing a swathe of Hearthstone clones? And why do they exist?
Yeah, that was my thing too. It's just like, huh. I mean, like, how many is like? I mean, like, does Shadow Wars count? Like Elder Scrolls, like, what's it called? Legends? Is it like I think it's Elder Scrolls Legends, right?
Yeah,
That's
that
Elder Scrolls.
ended
Does
badly,
that
sadly.
count? But like, it's different.
It's not. I wouldn't compare the two, other than that they're in the same genre. Really.
Yeah,
that's about it, right?
They do that with every creative piece, though, because like at the same time, I'm working on a writing piece, and it has a system of colors, and the colors define the type of talent you have. And everyone who reads is like, oh, so Divergent or Hunger Games because teenagers. Like, no, you can't call every zombie movie with a dog in it I Am Legend. That's not my fault, that's yours. And I think they're doing the same with yours. I don't think you should be too bothered about it. Honestly, people will always make these comparisons. It's the only thing they can contribute to the conversation, honestly.
Yeah, like again, like, but sorry, I think you're right. But I still have some cool ideas that this brought me to, right?
Oh,
like, it's just like, channel that energy. Take it. Boost it.
100%.
Yeah, that will be, and it'll be good to see where the project continues to grow, as you say, having a lot of good ideas working together, going, okay, this kind of works, but now what is it, and where do I want it to be? That's going to be very exciting to experience. I'd imagine exhausting, frustrating, among many other things as well. I think this month will feel like the dream at some point when you're continuing to go through that part of the process.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, honestly, so it's been like, from a development perspective, it's been a little bit hard this month because you're in this limbo, right?
Yeah.
So what if let's say we don't hit the Kickstarter goal, right? What the plan was at that point is we'll develop the game for 2 more months and then just push it out the door.
Okay.
Right? Like, whatever we have just goes out the door. And maybe it happens to make money, but at that point, that's not really the goal. At that point, it's just to have a released product.
Yes.
Right? And that, of course, is a very different plan from we'll finish the game in November.
Yeah.
And that means from our, like, development perspective, we kind of needed to, like, teeter between, like, which one do we do, what do we do? So, like, about 2 weeks ago, that just, I couldn't deal with it anymore, so I just like, all right, guys, we're just going to pretend we'll make it. We're just going to pretend we'll make it.
Best case scenario.
And let's just go ahead and we'll just go and start working on it. And so we've already been, like, working on some of the changes that I've, like, that I'm going to show you. Like, they have already been, like, being worked on, they're already being implemented, already being tested, and so on. But yeah, like, so that's definitely been something that's been a bit difficult, but luckily that's over now. So...
Yeah. A welcome relief, I'm sure. At least you know the direction now. You haven't got that thing in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Sounds good. One of the things I saw in the trailer that I was really curious of, the whole we have no packs.
Oh yeah, fuck packs.
So I'm with you on this.
Yes.
I am wholeheartedly with you on this. So how does that work then? When you so you start the game. So how does this work? I now don't have to buy packs.
So you start the game, and the exact process I haven't figured out yet. But, like, in the end, what will happen is you will go through an unlock process, right? You will kind of, like, be started with, like, kind of like a beginner's queue, and you kind of play the game, then you unlock the cards, and eventually you have all of them. Cool. Which should probably take, like, 5 to 6 hours of gameplay. It's kind of like an extended tutorial. So we kind of start with the simpler cards first, and then go to the more complex one. What I also want to do is I want to kind of, somewhere in the options menu, hide a button that just says skip unlock process, and just be like, you know, like, so for example, like, if it was me, I've been playing these games all my life, I get into a game and it wants me to unlock all of the cards, I'm just like, just let me play.
Just let me play the game.
Just let me play. So I want to just kind of, like, hide a button somewhere that says, you know, just skip it.
If you found me, congratulations.
Yeah. But in the end, I'm actually so not worried about being able to monetize the game. That's something I've seen a lot of people say. It's just like, how do you monetize that? Well, how do you monetize Fortnite? How do you monetize Dota 2? They do it with cosmetics. You have your battle pass, which we're definitely going to have a battle pass. We're going to have an in-game tournament system, and then, you know, you might need to pay to participate in a tournament.
Yeah, but as long as you know what you're expecting and there's something worth doing, that makes sense. You'd much rather pay for content than have to keep buying random chance kegs or packs or right.
And the thing is that then you can also like customize your deck. You can do lots of cool stuff. Like one of the really I don't know how much physical card games you guys played. I know you say you played some Yu-Gi-Oh! And some Pokemon, right?
Play some Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic. All smaller. I've got the Final Fantasy collection card game is also pretty good actually. I'm a big Final Fantasy nerd. So yeah.
Yes, he is.
That's good. All right then. So but to me, one of the big things is that in physical card games, what you see a lot is card alters. Where people will take cards and they just paint over them and like change them.
Yes.
And you can have lots of cool stuff like that. You know, you may see somebody take a card like a Llanowar elf and turn it into a Ghibli Llanowar elf. Like something I saw today was Emma Cruel, the Promised Friend, which was just this like cute little Emma Cruel. And people like modify their own cards. Now, why can't we just do that for you? So
I love this. I love this idea. It's something that I've wanted to see. Custom art, fan art being implemented in is phenomenal as an idea, and I love that concept.
So the Chroma as a game is something that it's very like lore heavy, very story heavy. There's a lot of that. And so all of the card art that we produce that is like the main art that you get, all of that will be canon and needs to be part of the lore, needs to tell a story in the lore and all of that stuff. But that's not necessarily true for the custom art. I mean, like, guys, if you want a weird Godzilla on your card somewhere, like, I don't see a problem why we left that. Like, if enough people want it, and so kind of from like a developer perspective, one of the big advantages we have, like, if I'm looking at Dota, right, or Fortnite, making a skin there is pretty expensive. Like, it's you need to create concept art, you need to create then from that concept art you need to create the model, you need to make sure it's optimized, you need to create texture. Like, it's a whole process, right? That's expensive. Well, our process kind of stops at the concept art. Not entirely. We'll make the concept art and then we'll pretty it up and make it into a proper nice piece of artwork. But from a purely like production cost perspective, it is much easier and cheaper and faster for us to actually knock out these custom artworks. So if we see that the community wants to see something specific, we can get that done really, really, really quickly. And that's something that kind of allows us to have this like active feedback loop with the community, right? Like, they tell us what they want to see, we can prepare it and put it into the game, and then like we can kind of have like this active engagement with the community pretty easily.
And that's good.
And that way people can like create.
They feel like they're involved in the building of this game. Yeah, I love this idea. I'm a big fan. I would always want to see if there's like a challenge event of pick your, I want this card art to be like this. There's a couple of options. The more people who win games with this, that one wins over the course of a month, and it gets implemented into the game. Like, the idea that you could have custom card art is fantastic. I love this idea. So
that's kind of like the big thing, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be quite keen on it. Like you, for example, you already said that you want the dev art, right?
I do want the dev art. I love that art.
So I kind of dodged that initially, but I mean, dev art is like 70 cents in the store.
I need that artwork. Okay, that night was the MVP of our playthrough when we were playing together the other day.
Oh, we always call that night the butt.
We called it something very similar.
Good.
Yeah, it was definitely not called the night for us either.
Yeah, again, this dev art was like a very special treat by my wife, who made some interesting things there.
We're fans.
Yeah, big fans. I want these on posters all over my room.
Definitely.
Especially the night one. What can I say?
It would look very good on a display. I'm not going to lie. That would look great on my wall.
So, but what we can also do is, we can push this. So, for example, we can have something like that. Or in the trailer, something you saw was like that one scene where you had that monk meditating,
Yes.
Why is that not on a card?
Yeah.
It's not.
Plenty of,
Okay.
I mean, I mean, it is. It is on it. We already like figured out, and we already put
It will be.
it will be on a card.
Thanks.
Strictly speaking, it is already in the game. It's just not unlocked for anybody.
Okay.
But that's kind of the thing, like you can really like push it and do a bunch of different stuff there. And even though I said not everything needs to be canon, I mean, some of it can be canon. We can like hide some lore things. I can have some lore events on there or something. I can see how you can like do storytelling just through like repeatedly having new artwork for different cards and so on. I don't know. I see a lot of possibilities there, and I'm really not worried about the monetization aspect at all. I think that people are just so used to card packs, and the worst part is that like you've got Wizards of the Coast and Blizzard and all of that. They've like forced it down people's throats so much that now they're saying, oh, this card is so strong, it should be a mythic. And I'm just like, why are you arguing for this? This is not good for you.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's quite frustrating. And I think just being able to actually go into a game and just play every deck you want, like it's nice. Like you can, and also like allows us to make the game better. Right? True. Because there's a different incentive structure. If I'm selling packs, I want to sell you as many bad cards as possible.
Yeah.
Because that means you buy more packs. For us, we want to produce as little bad cards as possible because that costs us money. We want to give you as many playable pieces. Every card we release, we want it to be something playable because otherwise we just created a piece that nobody can use.
Yeah. And it was just a waste of energy because it's never going to see any play, so it just sits. It's just a static image at that point that took way too much time.
Yeah, took time, took money, right? Like it's just, it's not worth it for us. So it kind of like changes the incentive for the developer to be something that I think is much better for the consumer, much better for the player.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that indeed.
And for interest's sake, you talked about a competitive aspect there for a second. Is your game going to be centered around casual gameplay, or will it be centered around competitive gameplay? Perhaps a ranking system.
It'll be centered around competitive play.
Competitive play. So esports.
Like esports, all about esports. There will be casual modes. I wouldn't want to exclude casual players. Like something that we already have in the game that I really like is random decks, which is basically like the game gives you a random deck of cards and your opponent a random deck of cards. And
that's like Arena. In
it's
Gwent.
not like
it's not like that. Not at all. No, sorry. No, I'm referring to Gwent that has a bit of a casual aspect, but it's not even that casual. Not the same thing at all. They give you an option and you make your own cards.
Yeah.
You have a totally different thing, which I love.
So the random decks is basically like there's a few rules in place that make it so you actually get a playable deck.
Yes.
Like you will never get a deck that has like red and blue mana and you get 10 green cards.
Oh.
Okay.
Like it will only give you actually playable cards. But other than that, it's random. It can be anything. And then you just kind of play against opponents that also have random decks. And it's actually, I don't know, I really enjoy it. I know that a bunch of people on my team are casual players. They don't really play that competitively, and they really like playing random decks. So I want to definitely enable casual play. But I'm not gonna lie, competitive is the focus. Competitive is what I really like, what the game will be built around. I think having a healthy competitive scene is fun. And I like it. I like playing competitively. I enjoy it. And I think a lot of people enjoy it.
Yeah. 100%. A lot of people only play games because it's competitive, honestly. It's definitely a selling point. And again, casual players don't have to play competitively, like you said. You're giving them more options to choose from, which is always a good thing. Yeah, it keeps it interesting, especially when the grinding gets hard and ranked.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice to have a break.
Yeah, unwind a bit. With Gwent, we play Arena when we're feeling down, and in your game I definitely end up playing your
when I'm tilted.
Yeah, your random selection game. That sounds a lot more fun. If I wanted to play casually.
So and another thing to kind of like go back to the business model, right? This is again like a change in incentive structure where what we can do very easily, because we're not selling you packs, meaning there's no actual monetary value attached to the cards that you have, we can just balance the game. Like just very regularly, like we can just actually.
Yeah, that makes sense because you're not. There's nothing nefarious, and that it's the wrong. It probably is the only word. The only reason you would try and change or balance the game is for the good of the game, for no other incentive of, well, we kind of need to force this card into the meta because we've made it overvaluable. We kind of need to change this
Yeah.
so that there are more. Yeah, that makes sense. I can see the logic there.
And you know, like if we accidentally release an Oko, then we can just fix them.
Yeah.
And nobody will be upset that their $80 Oko got banned. I don't know if you guys have like kept up with that.
No.
No. Okay,
No.
so when was this? No, that was last year. There was Throne of Eldraine for Magic the Gathering came out, and Throne of Eldraine had a card in it called Oko, Thief of Crowns, which was a planeswalker. And Oko was so overpowered. It still sees play in Vintage, and it was played in every single format. Oko was in, I think, 70% of Grand Prix decks, and it like went up in cost up to like $80 is what it cost. One copy of Oko.
What?
Wow.
That's insane.
And then eventually they banned him in like every format. Oko is banned pretty much
Wait for that
everywhere.
bubble to burst. You would not be happy now because it's worth nothing.
Yeah, but like imagine how those players feel, you know? Like of course in physical it's like always a bit different, but like it actually kind of like screwed me over too at the time because like so this was an experience I had. Sorry, I don't just mean to shit on other games. But like,
competition.
Like inspiration behind why you started.
I was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering Arena at the time, and they did their set rotation, which okay, I get it, set rotation happens, sure, right? Kind of sucked for me because I didn't like I kind of lost a lot of cards, right? I couldn't play with them anymore, but I still had enough stuff. I had 2 decks, right? Then they banned Field of the Dead, so there goes my 1 deck. They give you the wild cards for it back, so you can craft the cards again. The problem was that the Field of the Dead deck that I was playing had like 10, 12 cards in it that were only played in Field of the Dead. Sorry, I can't speak.
Right.
So those 10 to 12 cards, they just
I'm not
great.
a fan of the changing, cycling cards in and out. I know they've got so many, but it frustrates me endlessly. It's one of the reasons I've stopped because it's just it feels like content for the sake of content.
Then I had another deck which used Oko. Oko got banned. Half the deck was useless, and at that point I had no cards. And then I tried, and then I was like, God damn it! Like I kind of want to keep playing the game because I really like card games, right? So I went in, and I tried to buy cards for $50, and the store just straight up wouldn't let me. It just crashed every time I tried, and that was the last time I played that game.
It's a sign.
It's so easy to like stop someone enjoying a game like that, right?
I was so frustrated because I was forced into buying cards because they just poorly balanced the set and banned all of my decks. And then I was like at a breaking point, but I was still, because I'm a huge fan of card games, right? I was just kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm willing to let it slide. I just want to play the game. Just okay, here's 50, and then they didn't let me, and that was the last time. Haven't played it since then, because that was just such a frustrating experience. And that comes really from that kind of like selling packs business model. You know, it's just so difficult for them. And of course, Magic is always a bit of a different situation because of the physical aspect. But the experience that I had there is applicable to other games as well. It's not just Magic; it just happened to happen in Magic.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, yeah.
That's really off-putting that you had to spend that much money in the first place. I didn't even realize it was that bad. $80. And then $50 more. That's enough to buy Cyberpunk.
A few times.
Do you want to talk about expensive Magic the Gathering cards? Are you guys aware of? Well, okay, so of course, there's going to be stuff like Black Lotus, right? But we're not talking about that because Black Lotus, while there is, of course, if you want a pristine PSA 9 or whatever, if you
want it max,
right, 10, then whatever. But let's talk about playable Lotus. Even playable Lotus is expensive, right? But then you get like a shitty version of it that's like all run down and torn out.
Washing machine twice.
Yeah, but you still have a version of it that you can play, and those are cheaper. But those are extreme cases because Lotus is banned in pretty much everything anyway. Yeah. More realistically, the cards we should be talking about are fetch lands. Fetch lands is a specific type of land in Magic, and they are required in every format past Modern. So modern and legacy and vintage, you need to have fetch lands. You cannot pass up on them because they're crucial for mana fixing. They allow you to like make sure you have the right colors of mana in a way that nothing else can compete with. The problem is that one fetch land at certain points went for $200, and you need like 12 of them in your deck. And the best part is that Magic the Gathering recently released a so-called secret layer, which what a secret layer is them reprinting cards and selling them as singles, essentially. And the secret layer for 5 fetch lands, you want to guess how much that cost?
I don't want to.
And me neither.
$400 for 5 cards, 5 pieces of
You
cardboard.
can't tell me that wasn't intentional, just absolute money gouging.
Of course. I mean,
Awful.
they wouldn't tell you that, but
Oh, God, no, but
of course it is.
Yeah, it's just awful.
Magic's a game for the rich, it seems.
That's probably true.
Good that I never got addicted to it.
Yes.
Speaking
Well,
of
that's
getting
why.
addicted to games, perhaps you want to show us now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We have your stop saying sorry. We love this. It's really cool. I think we're getting a lot of leaks. We just need to get you talking more. So
We'll go about the new
Freudian
content.
slips. Let's see if you can put on your screen share if you'd like. And
Yes. I am
awesome.
not. I think this should be the right button here. Sorry, I'm not
At the bottom
super.
right.
Yeah, I got it. Not
Yeah.
super familiar with Skype anymore. I'm pretty much all Discord these days.
Oh.
Something is happening.
All right, is this working? I mean, it's screen sharing something from my end. Should be.
I'm just trying to see. Oh, that is very odd. Why? Okay, so it's filling up the whole screen now, and that means
Okay.
Lionheart's voices.
I'm out of focus. Technical problem pun. Okay.
Oh my. Okay, don't worry. I have an idea.
So, what I mean, I had recorded some video, but I thought it would just be easier if we're gonna screen share that I just go into the game and then I can talk you through stuff that way.
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds because Twitch is being weird.
Oh yeah, no problem. Don't worry about
It
it.
is not a fan of that. It is not a fan of the change. It will will quickly rectify. It's not a problem.
Yeah, no problem at all.
In terms of I got another update. So while I know the answer to this, I'm curious because I haven't been able to read through them yet. The Kickstarter funded really quickly, which surprised you. It was you've put the stretch goals in now.
Yeah.
I noticed. So what are the stretch goals? What are they? What do we get from the stretch goals?
Okay, so we have a few okay, so initially what we have here is we just kind of like provide some additional artwork for people, right? Where it's just like you can get some additional custom artwork because frankly speaking, this may sound a little bit rough, but 10,000 euros is just not that much money in game development.
No.
And so what we're mostly doing there is kind of some like cheaper stuff. Something that I know that my team would be really excited about for like if we hit 130. We might even do this just because we want to do it. But I think it would be really fun to run like a D&D campaign in our world.
That would be awesome.
And then we, can stream that and get it out there. For 150, that's kind of like our big one. What we'll do is we'll create like an anime style sound pack, like specifically like a lot of like anime movies have this specific sound to it, and we were gonna like kind of like rework a whole lot of the sounds to like make it so that you can like equip a sound pack and then change the sounds over to have something similar to that.
Within the game.
Yeah, in the game.
I like that. I'm a fan of that idea. I hope that we get this.
Yeah, that would be exciting. Now, hypothetically, right? I mean, I this is of course very unlikely to happen. Hypothetically, if we were to hit 200,000, and it sadly cannot be any lower than that, one of the stretch goals we will make available, or we would make available if we were to get there, is to create a roguelike single-player game mode. Which I want to be very clear about this. This would not be Slay the Spire. It would be a new game. Like essentially, what I'm saying is we'll make an entirely new game within the game.
I like that.
But that's why it needs to be, that's why it needs to be.
Yeah, that's why it's a full set of funding.
Because it's like it's a whole new game essentially. But it would be a roguelike just because I think those have a lot of replayability, and I really like roguelikes. I mean, like I don't know, I mostly it's because I would really like to make a roguelike. That sounds like a lot of fun.
If you've got the passion, why not?
Right. So that's kind of it. We also have some wilder ones like that we have like as ideas, but again, this is gonna require a lot of money. So it's something that I would like to do at some point in the future, if it's possible, is kind of essentially the commander mode, where it's not 1 versus 1, but it's 4-player free fall.
Oh.
Okay. I think that would be really cool, but of course that also requires a lot more money and so on. And
That makes sense.
yeah, like I highly doubt we'll get there with this campaign. That
No,
would
but that's what the future's for.
Yeah.
It looks like the screen share's up.
Baumi, yes, your chat very much wants to see your face, so if you can talk about
Okay,
the
on
screen
this-
share, then we can put you back on afterwards. I mean, what you want to show to us on screen
Oh,
share.
okay.
That it's working now.
All right, cool. I'll try to be a little bit quick with this then. So anyway,
Right,
here's our game. Here's what it's currently at. All right, so we've got our pretty main menu here.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with how this turned out, by the way.
Looks awesome.
So in here, I kind of want to I'm gonna give like a quick rundown how the game works, like the core mechanics of it.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, the basic principles here is think about like a card game, like traditional card game, something like Magic, Hearthstone. But you have your 4 different colors, right? So we have 4 colors, not 5. We have purple, we have red, we have green, and we have blue. You can also see some more of this wonderful development
Top
art.
tier.
The best part of the game.
So
Without.
so here's our development artwork. Now, the way mana works in this game is that basically you have a selection of heroes. So this is our selection here, and we have currently 14 heroes available. And every hero you can see, they have their own little mana pool. You can see this in the bottom left corner, with Quill having 6 devotion and 6 insight. So if I select Quill, now I can see in here in the deck builder, I can assign what mana she's using. And I can assign this however I want. So I can say I want it to be 1 blue, then a purple, then no blue, then no purple, then 2 blue, and then the rest all purple. And then I can build my deck based on that. Of course, so the game already filters out that, she can't really play any red or green cards. But I can't really play something like this guy because this guy costs 1 neutral, meaning any color. You can use whatever you want for that. And then 4 valor, which is red.
Okay.
You'd never be able to play that card.
I can't play him, right?
No.
It doesn't work. Same for the green ones, I just don't have them. So that's why we have this little switch here, so you can just filter out the cards you can't play anyway. But now I can build a deck. And this is really one of the strong aspects of the game. So initially, immediately I need to ask myself, well, what kind of deck am I building? What do I want to do with it? So the first question, of course, is what do I want as my first mana? What are the first cards I'm going to play in the game? So something I personally really like is this card. I really like Radiance. I like Eager Apothecary. So this right here is immediately I need 1 devotion to play them though. So currently my mana curve says I have 1 insight though at the beginning. The way this works later in the game is that you gain 1 mana every turn, but you gain it of the color that you assign. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. So this guy right here, I can say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I want this to actually be. Wait, let me go back to how it was. I want this right here to actually be a purple. But currently, I already have used up all of my purple. I only have 6 purple available, so I would need to remove a purple from somewhere and then put it in here. So now I have 2 purple here, and now I can actually play these guys. Now the next question is, how do I go forward, right? Do I want to play? So for example, this is a card that works very.
Love this art.
It's got nice art, doesn't it? But this is a card that works very well with enchantments, but it uses 2 devotion, right? So if I could play this right now, but if, for example, I say, oh, I want to also lean into blue a little bit, I want to maybe, for example, play this guy right here, then I need my second mana to be blue, so then I couldn't, for example, play the Carrion sprites here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And this kind of deck construction is kind of what a lot in the deck builder is about. So to just kind of let me go ahead and make a new, let me go ahead and just grab a deck we have. So for example, this is a deck I like to play a lot. It's a Siege Baron deck. And you can see that the way this is constructed is I have 1 devotion. Oh, all right, something going a little bit wild there. Don't worry about it. It's alpha. So we have 1 devotion first here. And That's because I have, again, Eager Apothecary here. I don't play Radiance in this, but I play this guy, the Wild Gardener, which is also one devotion. Then I go into red because I want to play Forgotten, right? This is a card that has some value there. And then also it allows me to play stuff, for example, the Living Rampart, which is nice. Then I go back into devotion because on free, I would like to... wait, is there even anything in this deck that necessarily uses that? No. Okay, in this case, I can just do pretty much whatever I want. And then I want to go on 4. Right, and on 5, I'm just gonna kind of like keep increasing the amount of mana I have available in the different colors, so that mostly what I'm looking for is I want to be able to play the Cone Stifler, which is a really strong, powerful creature, on turn 6. So I've kind of set up this mana curve so that on turn 6 I have the right mana for this. I've also set it up in such a way that on turn 5 I can, for example, play Open Arms. These kind of like nuances here to like make sure that this is all properly lined up is very important. So with this particular deck, you may notice it's very purple. It's got a lot of purple cards in it. So this deck might actually benefit from having less red. But the important thing is that Siege Baron needs to play, like, only has 6 purple available to him. The restrictions placed on you by which hero you're using are actually pretty significant. And
yeah, I can see.
Something is going wrong right now. Apologies for that.
It's all right. Don't worry. Alpha.
That's right. So for certain characters, for example, this guy right here, this guy has a lot more, has a different kind of curve, right? Like, so it's got 5 Valor, 4 Insight, and 3 Devotion. Wow. So this leads to some very different kind of styles.
Yeah,
every
varied,
hero,
I'd imagine.
Yeah, every hero has 10 mana available to them, but only, every hero has 12 mana available to them, and out of those, they need to build a mana curve of 10 different mana. So this is kind of like the important thing. Then every hero has 2 abilities. So, for example, what this guy has is you may only have up to 3 creatures in the story, and your creatures have +1. So at any given time, this guy may only have 3 creatures in play. But they are immediately stronger just because they're his creatures. And I kind of and then he's got a second ability that gives... Oh, wait, that's more... Where is...
He's run off now.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Okay, there we go. So this way, he also got an active ability which allows him to give attack to a friendly character. So the idea here is that this guy kind of like fights a lot more with enchantments, with spells, and just kind of has very few super big creatures that he makes work with, which is actually a really interesting style. I like this deck a lot. So if we go into like a match really quick, like I'm gonna go ahead and just play against the bot, which the bot is very stupid, so apologies for that. But we're just gonna go ahead and like have a quick look at how this goes. So this is what our board looks like right now. The general framing device for this game, by the way, is that it's stories told around a campfire.
Okay.
So that's kind of, if we go back into the main menu, the idea is that the player comes in and kind of sits down at the campfire with this group while they are kind of telling a story. And then when you're playing the game, you are sort of you're listening to the story being told, and that's what the game is. So there can be it's basically made by unreliable narrators. Like, that's kind of one of the big things here. You can't necessarily trust everything that they say. So here's our initial game plan. Now, here's where it immediately kind of gets interesting. So we've got this guy in play. All right, he's got Deadly, which is Death Touch or Poisonous or whatever you want to call it. Deals 1 damage, kills whatever it's attacking. All right. So one of the mechanics that we currently have in Chroma, which I really like, is something called, we have a guarded stance. So this right here is the combat stance. You can see based on the sword up here. Mm-hmm. And if I click this guy goes into the guarded stance. In the guarded stance, this guy now cannot be attacked anymore. So I can avoid being hit and having my creature killed, if I want to. Of course, that's not necessarily always good, but let's assume that I want to do that, then yes. So we also have enchantments and enchantment creatures. It's kind of something where there's all kinds of this new, well, not new, they're not revolutionarily new, but there's like different types of so-called permanents, right? So creatures are permanents, and then enchantments are permanents. Enchantment creature is kind of a combination of an enchantment and a permanent. So this guy right now is an enchantment, which means at the end of its turn, like it does something. Does at the end of your turn summon 2/2 creature, and it has this span counter here. At the start of your turn, it ticks down. When it reaches 0, it goes away. So I can switch out of the combat out of the guarded into combat stance. I can switch back and forth. Costs nothing, but you can only do it once a turn for each card, and you can't do it after attacking. So at its core right now, you just kind of like fight the game and so on. And this is where I always find it very difficult when I'm talking about a game that I've made, is what I have right now is where I would kind of like to go into Photoshop
Nice.
and
Yes.
Have a look at this, because I always find it so, I don't know, I reach a point eventually where in my head, I have a new version of the game. I have something else, and something that I think is better. And by looking at the old version or playing the old version, what we're doing is we're playing a worse version that doesn't currently, that like, I know that's the one that's currently available, but I wish everybody could already play the new one. Does that make sense?
Completely, yeah. And
Makes
it's nice to be
sense.
able to see where it's sort of going as well.
So this is kind of what it's like right now, you know. I don't really want to spend too much time on the details here, because some of the details are about to change. So let me go ahead and actually out of here, and you guys can see this. Is this working fine?
We
Perfect.
now see the board. Yeah, the board you have.
Yeah, you can see my little Photoshop that I've got open
Yes.
here. All right, so there's gonna be a few changes to it that I'm gonna kind of like. I wanted to take you guys through it and just kind of talk about them. Maybe even get a little bit of feedback, which would not be the worst thing.
Oh, definitely.
Sounds good.
So one of the first things, like something I had talked about earlier, is that we got a bunch of feedback from people that was basically, oh, the game looks like Hearthstone and so on. And to a certain extent, of course, I want to kind of like be defensive and say, how dare you? It is. But then again, if we look at the board right now, you know, like currently you have your, oh, come on. But not. Hello?
Oh,
It's not wanting to switch color. Okay, you know what? I'll just do it manually. There you go. All right. So currently what we have is, all right, we'll just do it in gray. Is it in grayscale or something? Oh, it's probably in grayscale. All right, I guess we'll just do it in gray then.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's fine. So what we have right now is we have our hero here, and then they have like an ability, and they have like an equipment slot. And I think this obviously looks like Hearthstone. Obviously it looks like Hearthstone, right? I don't think anybody's trying
No,
to...
you can see the similarities in layout.
Right? So what we want to do, what we're thinking to kind of like combat that immediately, is what we're doing is we're kind of changing to this like diagonal view, right? So I think just at a glance, this immediately looks different. And I think that's something that will help kind of keep that perception away. Like we're putting the one character here and the other character there.
Oh,
But
okay.
this is just kind of like something for UI layout. It's not really that important for the general gameplay feel. Or like for the, sorry, it's important for the gameplay feel, but it's not that important for the actual game.
The mechanics, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So something that we're also changing is currently what we have is, you know, you have your kind of like sort of slots for stuff, right? And if I were to like, I have one creature here, and then if I play a second thing, it kind of looks like so. And if I play a third skill, like if I play 3, it looks like so. And then if this guy were to die, then the whole thing scoots inward.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Going away from that. You can
Oh.
see here that we have these, we call them cells right now. We need a better name for them. Cell is too futuristic. But we have these cells now here, right? And these are just going to stay in place. So if I play my creature here, right? This is kind of
Okay, it stays there.
it stays in that spot. So I could,
Okay.
in theory, kind of place like an enchantment over here and a creature all the way over there, and it will just stay in place.
Okay.
Which it kind of immediately opens up a lot of design space. Wait, give me 1 second. I have a different document that I can that I've been working with. So this is kind of like my document that I've been working in for designing a lot of this stuff.
Oh wow.
Okay.
This is what it looks like. I like doing it in Photoshop and like manually writing stuff. It helps me memorize it, and it helps me focus on it a lot more. If you just write it down on a keyboard, it doesn't feel as
Yeah,
real
it's
to
not
me.
good. You don't get the same transfer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to just write it down physically. Anyway, so just kind of looking at what the cells enable, right? You have stuff like you can have AoE effects like that, right? Or you can have permanents occupying multiple spaces, which I think sounds sounds quite interesting. Something we can
Okay.
do is we can enchant specific cells. So that's definitely coming. They're like basically we call
Okay.
it blessings, which is
Okay.
this area
The
here.
outer border to see if there's
Yeah.
like a boon of some sort on that
Oh,
specific cell.
I could have this cell, and this cell could say any creature in the cell has +10 attack, right?
Yeah. And
And
you could do
now
it the other way around, and you could play something that would damage anything played into your opponent's cells, for
exactly, right?
instance.
I can make a cell of my opponent bad. Now, one of the restrictions on this that I'm immediately going to say, because this is something that people will point out, otherwise that would be a problem. You can only bless each cell once. Like they will override if you put
Yeah, no stacking. Yeah.
no stacking. But you can already see that like we can enchant these or like bless the cells is what it's called now. You can have like restricted combat ranges, right? So like this guy might like block attacks from
Okay.
these directions and so on.
Okay. That's
Right, and
interesting.
You can have. I don't think this is something we would want for everything,
No,
but for
but
some things.
particularly powerful cards or particularly strong
Yeah.
defensive cards, maybe.
So the idea of this cell system, right, isn't it's just kind of to open up the design space and just like allow for more strategic play and for like a bunch of like new interesting elements that you can do with it. It allows for cards to exist that we can create and make them more interesting. So like for example, here's also effects for specific board builds. We've got this guy getting buffed because he's next to like a landmark and an enchantment. Or what we could do is like we could have heroes supporting like a specific slot. I don't know. I'm still working on some ideas, but the you can see how this opens up like a bunch of design space, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I-
Definitely.
So that's one of the changes we will make. Then, this next thing that I'm going to talk about will be a little bit more abstract. I hope you're ready for that.
No, go. It's good.
Okay, so one of the things that I want to be doing, and this is in this document, is while I was designing here, right, I had 3 goals in mind. I had rearranged the board, which isn't that important, but I wanted to give the game more identity, and I wanted to push the story theme. Because I think having the story theme is really, it's kind of a neat element, right? Like even in the game as we have it right now, we call the board the story, right? Like that's just something that we have. So if I go through here a little bit for some cards, here, this guy, for example, whenever a steward enters the story,
Familias.
right? So we call it the story because, again, the framing device is that you're at this campfire with these people and they're telling you a story. So I want to push this theme because I like it. I think it's a cool theme.
It's awesome. I really like it.
So, sorry.
No, it's good. Carry on. I'm
very
excited for the
unique.
D&D campaign if that happens. Yeah, I can already imagine it. I'm already excited.
So the story theme is something that I think also works well with, like how much attention we are putting into like building a world and so on. And I want to make sure that we can continue on with that. And I want people to feel like there is a world here, right? There is something here. So pushing a story theme kind of makes sense. Now, I was kind of, as I was going through it, I'm not really going to take you through this whole thing because it's a lot. But like what I was kind of thinking about is one of the other things I was trying to do is I wanted to have the heroes, the characters that you play, to feel like they're actually a part of the story. And one of the issues I see right now is that the heroes, they are in the story, but they don't feel like they are an active component. They are more like the vehicle for it, right? Like you don't necessarily, like with some heroes, it feels more like I just happen to play this hero, so I have access to this mana pool.
Yeah.
And I have access to these cards. And it doesn't necessarily feel like I am playing this hero. Now, while I think there's nothing wrong with that, I would like it to feel a little bit more like you're playing this hero. So with some heroes, I think that's already pretty good. Like, for example, I really like Siege Baron, but with others, with Ryla, I don't think you quite have that feeling. So now I kind of thought about, well, what is the problem there? Why does it feel like that? Well, what are heroes? Well, there's stories told about them, which is the whole game, so that makes sense. And they're the center of the stories. That also makes sense because they play the card, they control the pieces, and the game ends when a hero dies. Cool. Also makes sense.
Yeah.
But they are active, and they are active in the story. Well, that didn't really feel true. Right? They have their active ability, and they can have equipment, they can have weapons, but both are really like, they don't really feel like the hero's doing much. So it kind of like went down that thought process a little, and eventually I kind of like arrived, okay, well, we can kind of like, I don't want to end up in a situation where it feels like the cards don't matter, because now I'm just playing only Quill, and one of my deckers, like, who even cares? I play Quill, right? That's stupid. I don't like that either. So I kind of wanted to give them like another ability, which is what I described here as an ultimate. But the thing is that, so what I have described here as like an ultimate. But the thing is that it needs to have strong restrictions, right? Because otherwise, why? Like, that's all I do. I just click this button over and over again, and then the game is over. Yeah. So one of the restrictions I had was, okay, it needs to be, first of all, it needs to be usable only once. So that's immediately one that makes it a lot better. And then we need like an anchor point. We need to guarantee that the game doesn't start with both heroes clicking the ultimate button. That's just kind of lame. And attaching it to only mana is a bit restrictive in the design.
Yeah.
So what I've now explained to you is like, keep that in mind, and then keep the pushing the story theme in mind. This is where it gets a little bit weird. What I came up with is this. Acts is what it's called.
Okay.
So the game will be structured into 3 acts, where basically you start in Act 1, and as you go through the game, you will be in Act 2 eventually, and the game will end in Act 3. Now, let's just kind of set aside what exactly happens in those acts and what exactly the point is. But having acts and just having this combat, this concept allows, it really fits into the flavor of the story, right? Yeah. It gives us this option of having these cool title cards, which I think is already nice. Like, it pushes the theme even more, where we can have Act 1, Turn 1. And then as you enter Act 2, Turn 1, Act 2, Turn 3, and so on. And then it also gives us anchor points for A, design space, and B, for the hero abilities and the hero introductions, like the ultimates and so on. Like, it gives us more points that we can work with. And so that's kind of the idea now. We are basically, what we're going to do, if we have a look at this, is you can see this thing right here is the act indicator.
Okay. Yeah.
So what will happen as you go through the game, you will have this little thingy here that fills up. This is a counter, and as this fills up, right, eventually you hit all the way over here, then the act will switch and it will go from 1 into 2.
Okay.
Is that when the turn ends, or is this totally mutually exclusive type of thing?
No, so it will be kind of a global thing, and the act transitions will only happen between turns. So you're right, only when the turn ends.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that way, in a sort of way, you need to kind of plan for it, right? Because if you, for example, let's just completely set aside what happens in the acts and what they are. But let's just say that for my deck, I want to be in Act 3. That's where my deck is the strongest, for whatever reason. Then ideally, what I don't want to do is I don't want it to end. I don't want to end my turn in such a way that my opponent then goes into Act 3. I want to end my turn in such a way that when my opponent ends their turn, we go into Act 3. But anyway, that's just like a mild aside there. So the point being is that what we are going to do is we're going to, again, anchor these ultimates into Act 3, right? So that will be like an Act 3 only thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So it can't be abused before then.
Yes. Then there's going to be so-called, currently they're called hearts, which is this little bar right here.
Hearts.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not, my development names are always terrible.
No. I just wanted to clarify. I couldn't hear. I thought you might have said hearts.
Oh, hearts. Yeah.
Yes. Hearts.
No, hearts.
Hearts. Okay.
Yeah, like my development names sometimes are, this guy was just called Jimbro.
I mean, I see it.
Well,
Yeah.
he looks like that because I called him Jimbro, and then that's what the dev art ended up looking like. Um, but anyway, so these hearts, they will also serve as anchor points for the acts, where basically they kind of serve as a way to slow down the game a little bit, where you cannot overkill damage past a heart. Where like the first heart comes after, I believe, 10 HP, this one is 15, and this is another 15 from your total of 40, right? So if I deal 300 million damage to this heart right now, I still end up with 30 life at the end of it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That doesn't mean you can't OTK people. You can still OTK. You just need to like have multiple instances of damage.
Okay,
Okay.
so so it's not just the point-based system like in the beta version we played. It's you now have to target the hearts as well.
Yeah, like it kind of like is gonna be
Yeah.
like a combination of the two, where
Okay.
you can enter between acts and you can move through acts based on that. Now, what I'm still working on is, which may seem like an important thing, is what are acts.
Yeah.
But it's something that we really need to get right, and that's what I've been working on. Like I have some ideas, like so some of my more wait, let me pull them up really quick. So one of my more apps, some of my ideas and more stuff like maybe both players get to choose 1 out of 3 options, and like maybe they can choose to gain the bless abilities, or you can shuffle your hand back into your deck and draw 5 new cards, or you gain 2 neutral at the start of your turn, or something like that. I'm not sure if I like that. I probably don't. But my point being is, what I'm trying to do here, right? My goal is to give the game more identity and push the story theme. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to take away what the game currently is, right? So like you can see that while we have these cells now, the cells, of course, they change a little bit, and they open up the doors for what we can do with the game, but they don't fundamentally change how you play initially. They more open the door for more strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you more variance. I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the act thing, it will not be something that completely overwhelms the game, but we might have a few cards here and there that change depending on which act you're in. We can have storytelling cards. We can have a card that has a different effect in Act 1 than it has in Act 2 and one in Act 3. And then you can kind of say, as you go through it, like it kind of changes a little bit. And I think you can do a cool storytelling with that. And it will kind of feel like you are actually going through a story, right? Especially as the heroes, as they enter the later stages, they will gain access to their special abilities, and you can kind of feel like, oh, okay, now you get to do something. So one of the hero works that I'm working on is, hey, that's the wrong sheet. Sorry, I have a million spreadsheets.
I can imagine.
So, for example, if we look at the game right now, we have a character called Harbinger, this guy, right? And if you don't have weapon equipped on your hand, your next draws a weapon, give a friendly creature weapon +1 attack. This is super lame. I hate it. So what this guy is gonna become is, or this is the current design of it. I can't promise it will stay this way, right? I'm still working on all of this. But what I'm gonna change him into is like once a turn, when you destroy a creature with your hero, you may pay 2 neutral to summon a 1/1 Carrion Forge copy of it. So this has a lot to do with his lore as well. And then he has an extra equipment slot. So what changes there is that currently there's this kind of strict design rules where every hero needs to have like an active and a passive ability. This will be changed, and you can also see this in here, that now it's no longer considered like an active and a passive. So before it would be like this.
Yeah.
But now it's just ability 1 and ability 2.
Okay.
Meaning they can both be actives or they can both be passives.
Depending on how you choose to set them up in your hero.
Yeah, like whatever your hero has access to, but like it's the kind of thing where it's really like, it's not so much a change to mechanics, it's more a change to mindset. It's more a change to like how we view it. Similarly, how weapons, right, will be changed. So before this right here would be the weapon slot, it is now changed to equipments. This doesn't really fundamentally change anything on the mechanics, but if I say this has to be a weapon, right, I think axes, swords, and so on.
It's pretty restrictive, whereas equip could be something else.
Could be anything, right? Could be a magic wand, could be a piece of armor, could be a tiara, could be a cape, could be a ring.
It's old.
Right?
Yeah, it does open up a lot more for, I think that's a good idea.
Right,
See
so
where that would go.
Sorry, I don't know if this is what you guys were looking for here.
No,
Like,
no, it's
I'm
really
excited to see
interesting.
where it's going to go. Definitely.
yeah.
I also
So,
love seeing the reasoning that goes on behind it. It's not just making it. It's a lot to think about. I can see how that takes a lot of brain power.
it's I view game design as problem solving. And you know what the most difficult
Mm.
part of problems of the problem solving with game design is, in my opinion? It's finding the right problems.
Oh yeah.
Um, I've always, I don't know. I've been working at this kind of stuff for a while now, and you get a lot of suggestions from people. Here's what you should do. Here's what you should do, and or like here's an idea I have. And oftentimes, what those ideas are is they are solutions to a problem that doesn't exist. And you need to find the problem first, right? And that's what I was trying to do here. I was trying to. These were the problems that
Yeah.
I wanted to solve. And so I was kind of trying to go into this direction, but I didn't want to like completely ruin the game. What I didn't want to do is that somebody that plays the game right now and likes the game as it is right now will then in the future feel like, oh, what? This is not what I ordered,
This is entirely different.
right? No, no, no. It will not be entirely different. It will just feel like there's like a whole new layers of complexity. Like imagine again, I place these on these slots, and as I go, okay,
Yeah.
I,
I can see the logic. You can see where it was, but you want to keep the same theme almost,
yeah.
but actually it feel more intentional, feel more that you can do more things and actually have like a core. Sticking with the lore of the story makes sense. I can see why you do that.
So
It
we
is
have
appealing.
I
Yeah.
have this like dev version of the game right now that's super whack and buggy that has hacks in it, and I'm considering whether or not I show it. I probably shouldn't. It's not good.
Well, I mean, whenever it is fixed, I'll definitely be giving it a go. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
But yeah, no, like, but like we have this private dev branch, and it's just a bunch of nonsense on there. I guess let me 1 second. I gotta switch over here. Come on.
Just keep in mind that everyone can see the Steam page you're on.
I know, but it's
Just saying.
not.
I mean, if you're about to
If you're
type in
entering
something,
passwords.
yes.
Password.
I'm not
No,
trying to enter a password. I'm trying to click this button, but it's not letting me.
It doesn't seem to like that.
Why does it not want to push this button? All right, never mind. Steam has
There you
decided
go.
no. There we go. Sorry, guys, you don't get to see it. Thank Gaben for it. Anyway, so that's like kind of one of the changes that, like, these are kind of the changes that we're working on, right? And I understand that we need to be very careful, right? Like, well, again, the last thing I want is that people that like the game right now will then feel like, oh, this is not the game that I liked. What I want people to feel like is, oh, this is the game I liked and extra.
I mean, that's the feeling I am getting. I think that's what you're giving to your audience. It's not a different game. It's just a upgraded version of that game because you're still sticking to the core of the game, which is the first few tactics you put in, the cards, and as well as the story you're going for, which is around the campfire. I think the lore is of it, honestly what would keep me playing this game. It sounds very intriguing, and I'd like to get to know more of it.
Oh, there will be a lot of it. I mean, like we have this like whole lore discovery system we're working on. We're basically okay. So currently the way lore works in card games, right? And this is how it works in the demo version right now as well. Is I have my card and then I can read the lore,
Yes.
right? The way it will work in the future is that will still be the place. It will still be the case. Every card has its own flavor text, but as you play the game, you will basically like unlock additional lore. So let's say I play this guy 10 times and then get like another line of lore text.
Oh, you'll learn more about them. Okay, I like
Yeah.
that.
But we're gonna be a bit mean about it. Because not all of it will be set up in such a way that you as an individual can find it. Some of it might be if you wanna find out something very specific about Eon, you're gonna need to play Eon in 10,000 games.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
and you won't, because you're not gonna figure that out. Or yeah, like you're not gonna play him 10,000. But there's gonna be one nerd that does. There will be one.
Okay.
And now
it
you're
mass
just
unlocks
really-
for everybody when somebody hits the target.
You're just really hoping that somebody does eventually find it. So it will then not be shown to everybody, but the idea is to get the community to share that information with each other.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bragging rights.
Now, of course, so the example I used where like play Eon 10,000 times, that's kind of lame. That's probably not going to be the case. It will probably be much more along the lines of play Eon while you have Gordazahima on the board and you're playing as Quill against Siegebearer. Something weird.
Situational things, yeah.
Right, super weird.
You're telling this
situational.
story that's from famed lore that
Exactly.
this happened and this happened, kind of thing.
And then you unlock it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that as you unlock it, it will show like why you unlocked it, like what condition you fulfilled. So that now if somebody comes and claims, haha, here, I found something. And then people are like, okay, well, show us what the condition is. Then they can go check themselves.
Okay, so you don't always know what the condition is, or do you never know what the condition is?
You never know the condition.
Okay.
We're not telling you what you need to do. You have to
Okay.
find. It's about discovery.
Easter egg hunting for lore, I like it.
That is interesting.
So that's kind of like for how we're gonna handle like a lot of the like deeper lore. The surface stuff will still all be there, and like honestly, there will still be a lot there. Like we've just been been writing a lot of stuff.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I like the Easter egg. I like the style of that. There'd be things that you could. Yeah, I can see potential there. That would be really exciting.
Yeah, so it's like really something that if you want to find out all of the secrets, you're gonna have to work together as a community, and you need to engage with the community. Anyway, I think I'm done with the screen sharing. So how do I turn this on?
Fantastic.
Okay.
That was really exciting.
Wow, yeah, you actually have convinced me to play this game. I'm not going to lie. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yes, hello, I am back.
I will put
Hello.
both of you back. Let's see. Choop,
Excellent.
Choop. There we go. There we go. Pressure off of me.
Haha.
That was really interesting. My gosh, I love the lore. I was wondering about the lore aspect because, like, Lionheart and I mainly play Gwent, and that's based off The Witcher 3, which is something totally different. And I mean, the reason I've stuck to it is because of the lore. And so I was wondering how you'd be creating your own little world, and this answers my question. It's a really interesting concept. If you'd like, we can show the intro to the audience again. I have it here, the one you designed, and it took months to design, and they want to upgrade for some reason.
The trailer would be good.
Yeah, if you want to play the trailer, sure. Sounds
awesome. Good. Okay, your faces won't be on. Just saying. Here we go. The initial trailer of Chroma.
Why would our mother abandon us? Maybe she's tired, or she's angry, or she's got something better to do. Maybe she's dead.
No,
Frankly, I don't care. The question is not why did she leave. The question is, what do we do next? Do we gather and protect each other from our fraying reality? Do we weave the world's chaos into great, beautiful things? Do we chase peace and harmony with the magics left in her wake? Or do we finally fulfill the promise and the destiny of humanity? Master reality, learn divinity, ascend! Come with me.
Hell yes. That
Love
looked awesome. The chat is loving it too, can I just say. Everyone is going on about how they replayed this many times. Goosebumps. All of those great things. No, it really is a good intro. It really is. It sells the game in my opinion. That's definitely why Lionheart first checked it out and then introduced it to me.
Yeah, it really was.
I will be excited to see if you can upgrade that because I don't think it's possible. But if you do,
Well, I mean, like the second half of it. Like,
yeah,
you
the,
know,
the,
the
card,
second,
the gameplay bit.
the gameplay part that will be out of date. You know.
Yeah,
okay.
true.
I wanna
Very
have
soon.
that. Yeah, exactly. We're working on that stuff right now. So.
Well, I can't wait to see it again. It'll give me another excuse to rewatch it, so I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. So the Kickstarter's got a few days left, right? So there's still a couple of days left that people can invest?
Yeah, about 4 days. I mean, like it says 3 days, but it's 3 days and like 21 hours. So
Fair enough.
It's not really
I
4
believe
days.
we've got one in the chat. I think we've got a Kickstarter command in the chat for anyone that is interested. I already have. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm really, like, obviously we've not really chatted much before this, so this was exciting for me to sort of think, okay, where's this going to go? I love the idea of the story element. I like how that feels now. That's going to feel the Easter eggs that you're discussing in terms of lore. That really, really interests me, and how you'd unlock those and as a community work together. Because I think if a game doesn't really have a community, then it doesn't last very long. So encouraging that from a development set, I really like that.
I mean, we already got a pretty active community. Gotta keep it going.
I was just about to
Exactly.
say, I think Baumi has a
Exactly.
pretty cool community. I think that's also a reason this game should do quite well. Man, can't wait to see it in Twitch. When will people be playing that in Twitch, by the way? When can I look out for it?
Well, I mean, so right now we still have the demo. In theory, people can stream it. But we're going to go offline with the demo when the Kickstarter is over. So that's when the demo will stop being available. And then the soonest I really expect people to be able to stream it again is like in September.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll
be a
have
bit of
to
it.
ask you so you can keep us up to date, so we can keep our community up to date, because I'm sure a lot of people want to try out this game. And oh yeah, Lionheart was talking about the fact that you reach your Kickstarter goal so early. Is there any incentive for people to still invest? What exactly do they get for investing? Sometimes people have extra goals for when they reach the initial one.
Yeah, we have some stretch goals. Like, so
Yes,
it's mostly just like right now at like every 10,000 you get like additional alternate artwork, like that's available to everybody. And like I mentioned earlier, like at 150 we have like an anime style sound pack, which is gonna be interesting to see.
I hope that gets him. But people that are get involved in the closed beta as well, right?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, like that's kind of like one of the things. Like if you go on the Kickstarter, you get stuff like beta access, you get in-game currency later, and also you get a bunch of merchandise that I'm really looking forward to. I really like our merchandise, and I'm gonna get one of each. Probably two of each actually. Like my wife probably wants one of each as well. So.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad I'm invested, because I'm definitely going to be playing around in the closed beta. It'll be good to see on launch as well, to be playing. That will be really good fun.
Yeah. I hope so.
Okay then. Well, this has been rather great. I'm not going to lie, I learned quite a few things about Chroma. I'm sure our audience has as well. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Baumi, about the game, about what to expect, where people can find you when you're not streaming?
Well, you can find me like on Twitter, I guess, at Captain Baumi, but I'm not really like the most active person on social media. I don't know. Like it may sound a little weird. I've been like streaming and YouTube like over half my life, and but social media is never something that really stuck with me. But you can reach out to me there or write me an email if you want at baumi@thinkingbottle.com. That's generally a good way to do it. But mostly what I want to say is I'm really going to do my best to make sure that we deliver a product that people can be happy with. That's my most important thing. That's my highest priority. I don't want anybody to feel let down by us. And so that's what I'm going to focus all of my attention and time and effort that I have on. We're going to try and make this game happen, and we're going to try to be worthy of the trust that people have placed in us. And that's really what we're gonna. That's what I'm gonna try.
Your passion for the project definitely comes across.
Yes.
I'm very excited to see where this goes. You can see how much you love what you're doing, and that makes a big difference, especially in this world.
Oh yes.
So yeah.
I mean, honestly, that sells it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. all kinds of cards. So many great games. Like it's fantastic. And I guess like one of the big things I really like about card games is like so physical games, are easier to make than digital games.
Yeah.
And then out of those, card games are the easiest to make. So they're sort of like books of games, where like out of all the media to create, like a book is the easiest. It has the lowest cost of entry. Like I don't mean easiest as in it's easy to write a book. I mean easiest as in you don't need you don't need a staff of animators to create a book. You just need one person writing.
Yes.
And that's kind of how I view card games, and I like there's kind of like this game design freedom that exists in a way that's really, really cool and really exciting, and I really like them. And yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. That has been Baumi introducing his awesome new card game, Chroma, Bloom, and is it Light or Blight? Why
Blight.
Blight.
Bloom and Blight.
Oh, okay, almost. Bloom and Blight. I have put the command in numerous times now. You should all check out his Kickstarter. There are still 3 days and about 21 hours in which you can invest in this, and you can reap the spoils of that investment. And do not forget about my trusty co-host, Lionheart. We are doing this podcast on my channel for now. It stands for OOF, by the way, out of focus. Just saying.
It's a throwback to old technical problems that we've had in previous shows.
Cameras are always out of focus. Just always. And thank you so much for coming onto the channel, Baumi. We've enjoyed this very much, and we can't wait to see the end result. I have a feeling it's going to be excellent.
Same.
Well, I hope so. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Alright guys, we're going to be ending off this stream with Baumi. You should all check out his channel as well, remember, if you're not already from there. And this has been Out of Focus, episode 2. We will catch you perhaps next week. Let's see.